Yes, good morning everyone. 20th April 2022. Let's see which are the important articles from today's The Hindu newspaper. Okay, these are the important developments. You can see that on first flap page, two important news are there. Ukraine war has hit India's bid to move away from coal. Indian Finance Minister. So Indian Finance Minister is participating in certain conferences organized in US, where here in let's say the think tank. Okay, and then also we can say that she is going to visit World Bank and International Monetary Fund meetings. Okay, so there she has expressed this view that Ukraine war is going to hit India's commitment towards renewable energy sources or phasing out the coal as a dirty fuel. Okay, so that as a follow-up we are going to let's say have undertake or this look into this news. Then on the bottom side, if freebie culture persists, India may face Sri Lanka's fate. Right. So here the Niti Aayog member Ramesh Chand, so he is the expert in economic and planning, we can say. So his views are important. Yesterday itself we discussed one article talking about the lessons that we can learn from Sri Lankan crisis. And one of the lessons we said that the economic policies which may, the faulty economic policies may result into economic crisis. Okay, and the one of the let's say faulty economic policy in Sri Lanka was related to huge amount of subsidies, right? So the similar view is expressed here. Now, on first page, Mahinda for clipping president's power. You should know the background here. What is 19th Amendment? What is 20th Amendment? Because it is relevant to that powers of president, powers of prime minister. You should know that Mahinda Rajpaksha earlier was president and now he is prime minister. Okay, and when he was president, he tried to clip the powers of prime minister and parliament at that time. And now when he is prime minister, okay, so he wants to revive the powers of prime minister and parliament and clip the powers of president. Okay, so that follow to these developments from IR section we are going to cover here. Okay. Fine. Now moving on. Yes, on page number 6, an honest reckoning. So you should know that there is controversy going on regarding the number of deaths, the counting of deaths due to COVID-19 from different countries, and the overall data is given for, let's say, annual data is given by WHO. So last year also it gave data, this year also it gave certain data in report, and it has found that the excess deaths have been given from India. But Indian official data is not in line with that, and our health minister has criticized that number and the methodology of calculating the number of deaths. So from that context is there, and the article is analyzing that part. Also you should know that the WHO head was in India yesterday or day before yesterday. He was participating in Global Ayush Investment and Innovation Summit in Gujarat. वहाँ पे उन्होंने वो केम शो बोला था ना, वो फेमस हो गया है वीडियो, ठीक है, केम शो मजा मत शो ऐसे कुछ तो उन्होंने बोला था, ठीक है, तो प्राइम मिनिस्टर भी थे वहाँ पर. Fine, so we will talk about that. On page number 7, see other articles largely they are political lead articles, and the victims say that article is talking about recently Supreme Court has denied the bail to Lakhimpur Keri violence accused, okay, the son of minister, union minister. So that aspect is covered here, but that is completely not that much relevant to our examination, we can say. But very good article on page number 7, demolition drives violate international law. Okay, so in Madhya Pradesh recently, the Madhya Pradesh government had carried out one demolition drive, especially after the riots that had happened after Ram Navami procession. Okay, so that context of let's say this article is that particular demolition drive and how it affects not only the fundamental rights in the constitution but also some of the rights provided in the international human rights law framework and covenants of which India is signatory. Okay, so it is informative article, we can use that in our answer. Okay. Fine. See, there is one keyword, although we have not covered here, but on text and context page, there is one keyword, panopticonism. Okay, PANOPTICONISM. किस लिए? Okay. हाँ, yes, it is kind of philosophy. Let's say this word is given or this particular theory is given, and yes, Foucault, yes. So you have this optional subject. Okay. Yes, political science also. Basically, it explains the new model of surveillance in our society, no? Yes, prism society. Basically, it explains that how, let's say, people behave when they are being continuously watched. For example, suppose a particular place is having CCTV cameras all over the place. So, a particular person will behave in a very different manner. For example, suppose we talk about Indian railway station and metro station. Okay, so metro station is installed with let's say CCTV cameras, and there is a fine who violates the rules of this Delhi metro, suppose. But let's say the same case is there for Indian railway, fines are there, everything is there, but there is no, we can say, strict implementation because there is no, we can say, surveillance there appropriate. Okay. So how people behave in a different manner when there is surveillance. So that aspect is explained in that theory. In general, you should know this keyword. And those having PSIR optional subject, for them also it is very much relevant, and philosophy also. Okay. Right. Fine. So other articles, again political in nature, many of them. You can see that Prime Minister unveils dairy complex in Gujarat on page number 10. And this state-of-art dairy complex and potato processing facility at Banas Katha District Cooperative Milk Federation, Palanpur, popularly known as Banas Dairy. Okay, so remember that कहाँ पे ये inauguration किया हुआ है, just एक general knowledge होता है ना current affairs का, उसके लिए. Fine. Now, okay, so on that page number 7 article where we are going to talk about the international covenants, there is one mention of the Office of High Commissioner for Human Rights. So we will try to find out the basic information from prelims perspective about this office. In earlier lectures, we talked about UNHCR, Human Rights Commission. That is completely a separate body of United Nations. And this is a particular office attached to the Secretary General of United Nations. Okay, so we'll try to find out some information about this office. Yes, let's discuss these articles. First, demolition drives violate international law. Very good inputs can be taken from this because there can be direct or indirect question whenever we talk about, let's say, arbitrary actions of the state which are violating the fundamental rights of the people. You can give this example also. Yes, recently Madhya Pradesh government bulldozed the houses of those who were allegedly involved in the rioting. After that, let's say, Ram Navami procession. Okay. So, this particular, let's say, reason given by MP government is not, let's say, those we can say that the houses or the shops of these people, rather the reason was given as anti-encroachment drive. Okay, so of course the government will try to find out the legal way, no? ठीक है, justification तो देना पड़ेगा ना? Okay, but the questions are being raised why at particular time period. Okay, so why at that time only, and especially whether it, let's say, such kind of anti-encroachment drive is to be carried out only in those localities where the minority population is inhibited. Okay, so ये यहाँ पे questions raised हो रहे हैं. Similar kind of, let's say, activities basically started from the UP last year when there were CAA protests. And UP government passed this, let's say, order to recover damages from those who were allegedly involved in destroying public property. There was state law enacted by UP government for this purpose. Okay, so वहाँ से ये शुरू हुआ है, and now the MP government has also is taking this. Now, because of such actions, which, let's say, rights of the people are affected. First thing one should know that even if the people are involved in damaging the public property, there should be appropriate trials. Let's say that should be going through judicial, let's say, processes and not the arbitrary action by the executive. Okay, so yes, the right to housing is the fundamental right recognized under Article 21 of the Indian Constitution in some of the Supreme Court judgments. Okay, though it is not explicit, but it is part of right to life and personal liberty under Article 21. Okay, this art. Then also some of the international covenants and the human rights laws. जैसे हम देखते हैं कि Article 25 of Universal Declaration of Human Rights. India is signatory to this one. Now Article 25 specifically talks about right to housing. Okay. At the same time, the other covenants like this one, International Covenant on Economic, Social and Cultural Rights. Article 11.1 of this covenant also talk about right to housing. Okay. In addition to that, these laws also prescribe that there should not be arbitrary interference in the privacy or private life of the people, and they should not be evicted arbitrarily, forcefully from their houses. For example, international law also prohibits arbitrary interference in the individual's right to property, Article 12 of this Universal Declaration of Human Rights. And whether the state action, so yes, in addition to that, we have to also examine certain other questions, like whether the state action was necessary and proportionate will have to be also examined. Supreme Court in some of the cases, okay, Supreme Court in some of the cases like Bachchan Singh case, then Vishakha judgment which was given in Vishakha case, and most recent one 2017 Puttaswamy judgment. Okay, and in that Puttaswamy judgment, basically, let's say Supreme Court has highlighted that the fundamental rights of the people should be viewed in conformity with the international covenants and the human rights laws. They should be in conformity. Okay, so this was the view expressed by Supreme Court in some of these cases. Okay, and if we are looking into the conformity of human rights or fundamental rights, these are the rights in international covenants. Okay, so some factual information you should know. We can write this in our answer. Okay, from polity perspective. Okay, fine. Now, an honest reckoning counting the number of deaths due to COVID-19. Yes, the context here is that in one of the report published in New York Times, it suggested that WHO estimates India accounted for 4 million deaths, or about 8 times the current official toll of 5.2 lakh. This year we are talking. Okay, 21-22. The first year of pandemic, nahi, second year of pandemic. The report, let's say, was criticized by Health Ministry for the use of mathematical extrapolation and assumptions. Okay, so this is, 8 times means huge, ज़्यादा हो जाता है, ठीक है. Last year you can see that in 2020 WHO had computed 3 million deaths globally from the pandemic, much more than 1.8 million officially reported by total countries or all countries. Okay, so if we talk about such kind of, let's say, extrapolation, the number of deaths will be huge globally. India का तो ठीक है, globally भी बहुत ज़्यादा हो जाएगा because of this method. Okay, so yes, in analysis what we should understand is that first of all, why we are criticizing this image of the country, despite of tackling this pandemic to some extent successfully, given the fact that the health infrastructure facilities, the number of health professionals in the country were less as compared to the population that we are having in the country. Okay, so the speed at which the vaccines were produced, the people were inoculated, ये देखा जाए तो हमने बाकी डेवलप कंट्रीज को कंपेयर करते हुए काफी अच्छे से टैकल किया है. And that image is to some extent dented because of this data. Okay, so image of the country is malign because of such kind of, let's say, facts. Second thing we should understand here that of course the counting will not be exact anywhere in the world. Okay, छोटी कंट्रीज का ठीक है, समझ में आता है, बट बड़ी कंट्रीज में काउंटिंग कभी भी एग्जैक्ट नहीं हो सकता है. दैट टू द डेथ्स एट्रिब्यूटेड टू कोविड-19. Okay, because many times what is happening, organ failure after so many months of let's say COVID-19 infection is happening, and so that's why the death certificates for COVID-19 are not being given. Okay, so ये तो फिक्स है कि counting will not be or never be exactly in exact amount, but yes, this counting has improved. Let's say, first of all, you should know that death registrations in India at hospitals has significantly improved. Before pandemic itself, you should know this. The data about this 2019 में at national level it was 92%. We can write about this. Okay, so that means 92% deaths happening in the country are registered at hospital. This is good thing, but there are state level variations. State level variations. For example, the states like Tamil Nadu, Kerala, there is 100% registration. 100% death registrations at hospitals. But some of the states like UP, Bihar, less than 65%. Less than 65%. So the state level variations are there, although the national figure stands at 92%. This is progressive thing. अगर ये पहले ही था पैंडेमिक से, तो पैंडेमिक के बाद भी ये काउंटिंग हुआ होगा ना, इतना तो ठीक है, हॉस्पिटल्स में जो भी डेथ्स हो रहे हैं. Yes, so this aspect. Second aspect is that if we improve the counting of the deaths, it only improves India's image at international stage. So instead of, let's say, taking it to the heart, rather the central government should focus more on how these deaths can be registered. इस पे focus होना चाहिए, and that to collecting data from individual states. अभी जो है बहुत सारे states delay करते हैं data collection हो या reporting to the central government, and because of that the accurate data is not being collected, compiled and given to the WHO. This is happening. Okay, so what we can do or central government can do is central government can send the team of experts to different states, and the strategy can be explained to them, the methodology can be explained to them, and that data of the deaths due to COVID-19 can be released in reputed journals. The methodology used can be released in the reputed journals, and that will improve India's image. ठीक है, so transparency जिसको बोलते हैं, okay, transparency and accurateness in calculating these debts is very important for even India's policy making, future policy making also. ऐसे हम way forward में लिखेंगे, right? Yes, okay. Yes, Mahinda Rajpaksha for clipping president's power. So the new amendment has been proposed here by the Sri Lankan Prime Minister. Okay, for restoring the legislation that clips the president's executive powers and in turn empowers Prime Minister and Parliament as a short-term solution to countries' crippling economics. See, again they are seeking political solution instead of focusing on prudent economics. उनको लगता है political ही main reason है. Okay, so but the thing is कि again the part you can say family politics is involved again. Same thing. Okay, addressing the Parliament's first session after New Year break, Mr. Mahinda sought implementation of 19th Amendment with necessary and timely amendments as a part of solution based on solid economic, political and social foundation. You should know the background here. Mr. Mahinda attempting to regain control by overturning 20th Amendment. In let's say 2020, this 20th Amendment passed by the Gotabaya administration. Okay, the Gotabaya Rajpaksha is the president. Reduced the Prime Minister's role to ceremonial one. Okay, while granting sweeping powers and heightened immunity to the President's office. It essentially rolled back 19th Amendment passed in 2015, months after Maitripala Srisena and Ranil Wickremesinghe coalition was elected to the office. मतलब ये पूरा politics है. Okay, so new, let's say again the brother is coming to power and clipping the powers of other brother, we can say indirectly, or his office. So let's see what happens in future, and the development also coincides with opposition's call to abolish country's executive president itself. Okay, so you should know that in Sri Lanka there is partial presidential and partial parliamentary government. Okay, so it is very unique arrangement, and it is not completely parliamentary government or completely presidential form of government. Okay. Ukraine war has hit India's bid to move away from coal. Our finance minister, she is in US participating in some of the meetings of World Bank and IMF, and she has expressed the view here that because of this Ukraine and Russia conflict, India is not able to move away from the coal. Why? Because the international prices of crude oil and natural gas, which are the alternatives for coal, so their prices have increased. There are sanctions on import of oil and natural gas from Russia, and because of that our dependence on coal is going to continue further. So whatever the deadlines are there according to COP26 that we accepted, like we will phase out or phase down let's say the use of coal, so we are not going to meet that target. Okay, so the reason you have understood. General information that you should know. So coal releases almost twice amount of carbon dioxide related to natural gas on a kilogram to kilogram basis. ठीक है? So that's why the natural gas is more cleaner source, and our, let's say, import of natural gas is clipped because of this war here, and its prices are very high, international prices. Okay. Then if freebie culture persists, India may face Sri Lanka's fate. The view expressed by Niti Aayog member Ramesh Chan. Okay, especially the freebies that are given in agriculture sector. You should know there are different subsidies given by the government in agriculture. They are direct, indirect. Direct in terms of, you can see PM Kisan scheme is there. Directly the funds are given to the, also direct let's say is MSP is also we can say form of direct subsidy. Indirect subsidies like power subsidy, fertilizer subsidy in terms of irrigation, crop insurance, interest subvention, ये सारे हम indirectly बोल सकते हैं. Although loan waiver and interest subvention is direct kind of, we can say, subsidy.
And such kind of huge subsidies by both central government as well as state government, it is kind of creating dependence of these farmers on these subsidies. It goes beyond the 10% of overall subsidies that should be given under WTO regime. ठीक है, ये जो है ना 10% limit of government support for the sector. So that has been, let's say, highlighted here, and if this is continued, if it is not reduced, then India may also face similar kind of problem. This view is expressed here. The one calculation is explained. The latest number is that if we are buying anything at MSP, food grains from the farmer, the economic cost comes to be 30 or 35% more than MSP. And the government is not able to dispose the produce even at MSP. This means that to pay 100 to the farmer, it costs 35 more rupees to the government. ठीक है, तो MSP 100 रुपीज अगर दे रहे फार्मर को, तो ओवरऑल अगर वो ट्रांजैक्शन कॉस्ट है वो 135 रुपीज हो रहा है, बिकॉज देर इज, लेट्स से, बाइंग कॉस्ट, मेंटेनेंस, स्टोरिंग एंड सेलिंग, एवरीथिंग इज देयर, राइट? So it is costing government more. That's why you should know in 2014, one committee had suggested reducing the capacities of FCI godowns. Okay, the storage buffer stock limit should be reduced. Okay, क्या नाम था वो कमेटी का? नहीं, एफसीआई और इसके फूड ग्रेन मूवमेंट के ऊपर उन्होंने, शांता कुमार कमेटी. ओके, वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट सजेशंस, शांता कुमार कमेटी. ओके, सो लेट्स से दैट कमिटी हैज रिकमेंडेड रिडक्शन इन द buffer stock and the working of FCI, reforms in PDS, everything was suggested there. It is relevant to our syllabus GS3 paper. Okay, yes. Now, Office of High Commissioner for Human Rights. Okay, now this particular article, let's say, or this information is relevant to prelims examination. This office is the leading UN entity on human rights. You should know that there is a difference in the working of United Nations High Commissioner on Human Rights and UNHRC, Human Rights Commission. Human Rights Commission is separate entity, arm of UN as a body, and it works on, let's say, voting basis. There are resolutions by this body, and after voting only the actions can be taken. Okay, but this particular office is basically participating or looking into the human rights implementation. Okay, human rights implementation by different countries, and it is continuously reporting to the UN Secretary General. Okay, it represents world's commitment to the promotion and protection of full range of human rights set out in Universal Declaration of Human Rights. उसके लिए है ये. Then UN General Assembly established this office in 1993, especially after the Vienna Declaration and Plan of Action. Okay. Then High Commissioner is principal human rights official of United Nations, and this Commissioner for Human Rights is accountable to Secretary General only, not UN Assembly. Okay, and is responsible for all the activities of Office of High Commissioner for Human Rights as well as its administration. Now, this High Commissioner for Human Rights is appointed by Secretary General of United Nations and is approved by the General Assembly. And he is appointed for the fixed term for 4 years with the possibility of one term renewal for fixed term of 4 years. Okay, so 4-year term, approved by General Assembly, appointed by Secretary General. Fine, this information is important for prelims examination. Yes, on the basis of this information, what should be answered? Okay, yes, consider the following statement about Office of High Commissioner for Human Rights. High Commissioner for Human Rights is Principal Human Rights Official of United Nations. This is correct. Then High Commissioner is appointed by Secretary General. This is also correct. Now, High Commissioner for Human Rights is accountable to UN General Assembly. This is incorrect. Okay. Accountable to UN Secretary General. Okay, so this is incorrect statement. We have to find the correct statement. So 1 and 2 only is the correct answer. Fine? Okay. So yes. Any question from your side? Okay then. So let us stop.